I am deeply relaxed in the effortless flow and fulfillment of God's loving grace. Imagine living like that. Can you imagine it? I want to start using that phrase a little more often because it feels like something that is denied in the world. And it's so alive for me to really make that full surrender. And what I really like to do with this video today, and probably all of them, is to connect with you and see if that is also true for you. It's a really big task to let go of everything and literally just drop into that divine flow, which I know we all long for, but we don't know how to do it, right? Because there's so many parts of us that are clinging to this world, this external world for survival. And it's not easy because it feels like when you let go of that struggling and busyness, who's going to do it for you? Who's going to pay your rent? Who's going to take care of your family? All that worldly stuff, who is going to do it if you are not out there being really busy, busy, and trying to survive and make it? It's not easy. It is the biggest task for all of us is to at least turn towards that flow much more often. So we can be, splashed a little bit with that energy from the flow so we can start feeling it. And as we take that in, there will be a sense of what the flow is. And it is peaceful. It is relaxing because the flow itself, the divine flow itself, is and has everything you want or need. And it really, literally is who you already are. That's very different than who you think you are, who I think I am. And who we all think we are is literally a separate sense of self, separated, severed from the divine. It's as if, well, there's the divine up there maybe, and then there's little me down here who was dropped off on this planet Earth, and now I have to figure it all out on my own. And that's intense. That is stressful. And it keeps you going on the hamster wheel in one way or another. Doesn't mean that you're working 80 hours a week in the techie world. It can be in anything we do, and it is. There is this underlying feeling of stress, need to accomplish something, need to survive, be there for others, saying the right thing, not offending somebody. And it's just ongoing energy that will show up in different flavors depending on our background, our character styles. But there is that separate sense of self that thinks it needs to figure it all out on its own. And if you're being asked to drop into the flow, there's probably part of you that says, I would love to do that. I am so tired of this busyness, of this hamster wheel, of this go, go, go. But I do not know how my life will look if I let go. So, of course, most of us don't just let go overnight and then next morning we find ourselves in the flow. I wish, I really wish. Wouldn't that be amazing? For me and for most people I know, it is a slow process of really noticing where we're holding on, where we are stuck, clenching, where we are afraid, where we feel incomplete, where there's still things we want to do and learn in order to relax. I think peace is probably at the core of most of us, of what we really want. And then we're doing all these things in the outer world, hoping to find peace. And it doesn't really work that way, does it? It might work a little bit. I'm sure we find peace here and there, thank God. Otherwise, it would be really miserable. But to start um, to commit, maybe, if you really want it, right? It always comes back. What do you really want? So if you still want to be out there, working hard and being successful, have at it. Really, just go for it and enjoy it. Why not? And then there's those of us who have tried it. And it did not make us feel, it definitely didn't make us feel relaxed, right? There's always the next thing, like, oh, you may have been successful here. And now, how do I maintain that level of income or success or health? And for me, for a long time, I have been so tired of it. And I was pulled back in for actually the past 4 or 5 years where I did very, very little, just maintaining basically, because I just couldn't do it anymore. It felt like if I would go out there and be Pernilla trying to, whatever, be successful, make money, help others, save the world, um, it would be Pernilla. And somehow something happened a number of years ago where I just could not do it anymore. I just couldn't. When people say, why don't you do this or try that? And there was just everything in me said, that would be my old character, that would be my old identity, that I would take that back on. And I can't do it. So it was quite a long process for me, and it's still happening. But then a number of months ago, something started shifting, and I just felt that the flow began to move as me, not as Pernilla. There was something that shifted, and it came with an immense amount of joy and energy and inspiration. So I went with it because I knew it was not my old way of doing things. I just let myself be led by joy, by inspiration, by peace, by something that felt like a resonance inside. And I just went for it. And that's where I suddenly started doing these YouTube videos, because I felt there was just really something that wanted to be spoken. And it keeps coming down to, I am deeply relaxed in the effortless flow and fulfillment of God's loving grace. And I'm saying it again now, and I will probably say it many times in the near future as a reminder for those of you who resonate with this, to take that in and make that important in your life. For instance, when I find myself out of it, and I do, and when I catch myself, then I go, oh no, I am deeply relaxed. And even just that little first sentence, I'm deeply relaxed. It's like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Then I just let go of the other and let myself be guided. If nothing happens, I am not going to go out there. I'm not going to get out of the flow onto the shore and try and make things happen. I just stay in there and I wait. And I keep going back to feel this flow, which is my I am presence. When I say I, then I know that that is not Pranilla. When I'm out there, I think it's Pranilla, but when I'm here, I know it's not Pranilla. It is the divine flow that shows up as me. And then I go there. And what I find one of the most important things in my little YouTube videos is to help those who feel inspired by this to just dip in on a regular basis while you listen here. If you're just listening to it, while you're doing a lot of things, you will probably miss what it really is that the words are saying. And then it still is just happening in the mind and as a memory or as oh yeah, I want to do that. That sounds like a good idea. And off you are with your life, your busy life. And then later you go, oh yeah, that was right. What was that again? So it is very unfamiliar for most of us. When you go on a retreat or when you meditate regularly, you will certainly have those experiences. But how can we bring them into our lives so that this flow really starts living as us, as who we are, as what it is, as our expression? And that is not something that we will know with the mind. That is something that we follow. We just feel that flow, feel the movement, and then go with it, right? And the movement it's always different from day to day or from person to person. So it's good to find your flow, not trying to go on my flow or your neighbor's flow or your spiritual teacher's flow. No, find your divine flow, which is what your spiritual teacher is doing. And hopefully they're always pointing back to you to find out who you are and what your expression is. And then stay with that and get to know it intimately so that you know what it is. You know when it moves and you know when it doesn't move. And in the beginning, it might be hard when it's not moving. Like it wasn't moving much for years for me, but I couldn't do it anymore. It was like something had stopped in me. And I'm really grateful for it, but it was like, my God, is it ever going to end? And it does, but not until it's done. And I had to wait for Pranilla to kind of dissolve enough that she was not trying to run the show. So I'm going to say it one more time, and I invite you to just close your eyes and feel it. Imagine what it's like when you say, I am deeply relaxed in the effortless flow and fulfillment of God's loving grace.